You don't have to check out of parenting at the same time that you're working.
Because if you just listen, you can overcome any objection typically.
Rather than being likable, I think it's more important to be relatable.
We sat down with Jess Simone with the Luxe Group, Century 21 Properties, the ultimate hype girl. She is the energetic person in the room, the person that you want to surround yourself with if you're ever in business. So when we sat down, we talked about a bunch of different topics. What got Jess into real estate, what makes a good Luxe agent, and what Jess really likes to do with her brokerage and how she likes to promote her agents. So hey guys, how we doing? Today, we have something very special for you. We have the ultimate hype woman in the industry, Jess Simone of the Luxe Properties with Century 21. Jess, how we doing today?
Excellent. So happy to see you.
Good to see you. You know, we just kind of chatted off camera a little bit about how life can be and pulling you in different directions. And I think a couple of different reasons, a couple of different things. We want to kind of go through, what got you into real estate first and foremost. I mean, I know we're going to go back into your past a little bit if that's okay.
Of course.
Talk about your promotional days and what you've owned and things of that nature. But what ultimately got you into real estate?
So I think it was the transition when I ended nightlife in Providence. Providence wasn't supporting the nightlife anymore, and you saw businesses kind of falling off, and I decided to start a family. And I thought the only other industry that you are truly able to take care of people like I was in my former life was real estate.
Yeah.
Everything's different, it's challenging, it's emotional.
Yeah.
And I loved the process of somebody coming to me and being able to just take care of them.
Right. And in real estate, obviously, you can work long hours, so that was nothing that you weren't accustomed to, right? So your drive, determination.
And it was always.
Yeah.
So you're always on, right? Even in the nightlife, your phone's always ringing. You have to.
Any day that ends in Y, right? That's what I always tell people. Like real estate, I'm sure in that business, and that's kind of where I first met you, actually. I forget the name of was it Maya?
The Loft.
The Loft, yes. And you had longer hair then. I think you
did.
had just had your last child.
First.
That was the first.
That was the first.
As we get older, I forget.
Actually, right after that, during that time I met you, I was studying for my real estate license.
So you've had your license for?
Just about 9 years.
Wow. Wow. And where did you first start? That's the kind of, because I've only known you, obviously, as we've gotten closer over the last couple of years with, obviously, this brand.
Yes.
But where did you kind of have your license originally?
I was with 2 smaller offices, and then I went to Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay.
And then I transitioned to Century 21.
So what's it like being a mom, being a business owner, for younger agents or women that are just trying to get into the business? What would be your suggestion of time management, life balance? How do you accomplish that on a daily basis?
I don't. There's no calendar in my life. I mean, you can schedule appointments, you can schedule calls, but with real estate, if your phone rings, you have to pick it up. It doesn't matter if you're at a soccer game. It doesn't matter if you are playing Monopoly with your kids. You have to your kids and your family have to understand that they have to support you because ultimately that's what's supporting them.
Right.
My kids get frustrated. Sometimes I'll say, Mommy, get off the phone. And I say,
I feel it too. I mean, I have a 6-year-old, and sometimes I'm like, Daddy's on the phone, and she's tugging on for my attention,
Right.
But when you have the time, you have to spend time with your family, right? I mean, that's obviously 100%.
And what your kids don't realize is your client is looking for you at that moment.
Yeah, instant gratification.
Right. They need you. Whether they Googled something and it's making them nervous, or they found something online that they want to see, a property and maybe an open house the next day.
Right.
They don't want to be second best to anything, and I don't want them to be second best.
Right.
But I also don't want my children and my other responsibilities to feel second best. So it is that fine line that you walk to make everybody feel very, very important in your life. And it's not an easy task. But if you don't have the ability, do not take a job.
What advice would you give to mothers, even the ones that work for you now, obviously, or people that may be interested in coming to work with the Luxe Property Group?
Right. I think it's important to know that you do not have to feel guilty, that you have to take a little bit of a time out from your family and your parenting skills, because it doesn't make you less of a mother. It makes you a stronger mother for your kids to actually witness how you interact with clients, how you deal with the process of just making somebody feel at ease at that moment. If they need you, they may call you and say, I'm just stressed out. Yeah. My children are always watching me. I always take them. I take them to open houses sometimes, depending on the client, obviously.
Sure.
But they are witness to the process of how it is to be a strong woman in their lives, and that's important.
And that's important. I mean, obviously, from a young age, you have to instill that, right? I mean, if mom was never around but made all this money and had a successful business, you would then not have the learning lessons or the teaching lessons or just that feeling of being a good mother.
I think it's important to make everybody understand that you don't have to check out of parenting at the same time that you're working.
Right.
So people get very overwhelmed at too much. I love chaos. We all know that. So I think it's always been my life where the more the better, because at the end of the day, if I feel that accomplishment, I know I just made excellent use of my time throughout the day.
So we know like the Jess Simone, chaos. How about like the mom or the woman that like lost their independence because, they used to work a job, they got married, they stayed home and had children.
Right.
And, I feel it that, I have these conversations in my household as well, where women feel like they lose themselves a little bit and like trying to get back into like a job like real estate if you worked a 9 to 5 before that, right? Totally different
it's very, very
dynamic.
different. You leave at the end of the day at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Some people just close their computers and they actually don't have to think about work the rest of the day.
And I think real estate gives you that freedom to not have to do that, right? I mean,
Right.
so like you could have the kid in the car seat. I've seen plenty of women that are doing well and that are bringing their children, like.
I've written plenty of purchase and sales on my car console, and everybody's sleeping in the
and
back.
I think that's something that, it's not for everybody, right? But for the people that were successful and had a business career or had a career that did that 9 to 5, and now they really can't get back into that 9 to 5 because they would take away from what they want to be as a mom, and maybe working in real estate would be a great job for them because the flexibility.
Right.
I mean, again, you could be in the car writing offers, you can be in the car taking the phone calls, you can also be on the weekends showing property or, so it gives you that flexibility of not just the 9 to 5. And it's tough though, right? I mean, I would imagine.
I think it's very important when considering this career that you join either individually or a team. Because if you have a team and you get too overwhelmed, now you're able to kind of pass it to somebody who can say, I'll give you the referral fee. Come along with me. This may be your client or a referral, but I will do most of the work with you. And then you don't feel that you're getting
left behind,
your head.
And that's a good point. I mean, I've been obviously talking about with the industry changing over the last year, or just production changing. That some of the agents are good agents, but falling back and maybe being in a team or under a brokerage that will mentor, that has somebody like yourself that says, it's not just about the paycheck for me. It's about seeing success, right? You want to see people better and better and better. And I'm pretty sure that's if you went all the way back to young Jess who got involved in the nightlife or in the clubs or the restaurants, like to put out the best product, you need everybody to be good and great, So you have to mentor even the bartenders, the wait staff, the general managers, like everybody from the guy that's delivering the food to you probably, So I think that's a testament of like where you've come from, what you offer here at the Luxe Group. I think that's something that, I mean, we can speak on it. You have multiple agents that have just had children.
Absolutely.
Thriving. Still balancing.
But we rely on each other because we all understand. So nobody is cutthroat here. In a cutthroat industry, yes, I understand. At the end of the day, everybody's working for that paycheck. But in the end, if you're together, you're stronger together. And going back to what you just said about educating everybody on how to work, you get an experience here. When you sit down with a client, you're getting an experience. We're not sitting and being salespeople. We're sitting and being your friend with an enormous amount of knowledge to take you through the transaction and get you to the closing table. Whether you're buyer or seller, it's an emotional process. And it's very, very important that people know I don't have all the answers. And anybody who says that they do is lying. You don't have all the answers. And how many years have you been in this? But together as a team, together as the networks that we've built, we have all the answers one way or another. We'll find it for you.
Partners,
and that is,
people that you can lean on.
How many times have I called you and said, have you seen this? How many times have I jumped into my group text with our team and said, hey guys, I'm experiencing this. That's what's very important. So if you're singular and you want to be a singular agent, that's fantastic.
Right.
But if you're
Still
looking,
have a good product here for you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for that family,
Yeah, that atmosphere
little,
of like you got, which
we all got each other.
I think people like.
And ultimately, we have each other's back to have our clients back.
One of the most interesting aspects that I find truly amazing about what the Luxe offers is its marketing. You know, between billboards and video, and you kind of not always being the front runner. I mean, obviously you have your own personality and what you like to do, but I also see your agents coming out of their uncomfort zone, being comfortable with you.
Yes.
So the marketing aspect, I mean, I know I call you the ultimate hype leader, you know, and God, if I needed somebody for Balkun title, which I do, you're in my corner, which is great, you know, but why market? Why do you love marketing so much?
Marketing is a chance to truly understand the person's personality in split seconds.
Yeah.
So if you notice, all of our marketing is learning about that person and knowing if they will be your asset or your ally. Am I going to get along with this person or am I not? I like this person because she is a mother. I like this person because he's completely dedicated. He doesn't even sleep. In my marketing, I've always captured people's personalities through those quick reels, quick videos, quick interviews.
Sure.
I want you to know who they are in that 20, 30 second clip.
And you can take somebody from not feeling very confident about themselves. I mean, I can tell you how many people that go, I just can't get behind the camera.
I couldn't.
You?
Never.
Oh my God.
Never.
I find that
Do you
very hard
know,
to believe.
I got my license. I could have filled a nightclub like that.
Right.
I could not promote myself.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why is because when I started messaging people and saying, hey, I have my real estate license now, they're like, my aunt's nephew's cousin's real estate agent is her banker. I can't use anybody but that person. I felt defeated. I felt deflated.
Yeah.
And I started saying, okay, who am I? I'm a real estate agent. I'm a mother, a daughter. I'm all these different things. That's what I need to capture.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting down with a new agent, don't talk about just real estate. Talk about everything, who you are. Why does somebody want to work with you? That's my marketing.
And I don't think you can have transactions without that, right? Like you can't, like if nobody knows who you are.
If you're a real estate robot
Right.
and that's all you know, you have to know how to be compassionate. You have to have a little fire in you. You have to have, you know, that
Confident,
line
a
of,
little bit of
right,
confidence,
where to draw the line. You can't just go at people and fight. It's not a fight. Everybody, you know, thinks that fighting for the best price or closing cost credits. That's not what it's all about. It's all about, you know, there's so many different things that make it up. So in my marketing, I think it's very important to transition person, real estate, marketing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes sense completely. And I think you're doing a great job at it. I mean,
Thank you.
You know, as an individual where you do your own individual stuff, obviously you're building your brand because you're Jess, but what you're doing for your agents and what you're doing for your brokerage is completely different. And it is edifying them. It is taking them out of that spotlight, out of that singular spotlight, maybe putting them in the group together so they don't feel like that camera's just on me or the spotlight's just on me. Because people do have a hard time with that, you know, especially if you come from a different background. If you were an accountant and all of a sudden you're asking somebody to put you in front of a camera, it's going to be a difficult decision. So I think you do a great job of doing singular and also putting them in a group so like it looks powerful, you know.
I recently read this quote and it said, have your team be so powerful, they don't know who the leader is in the room.
Bam.
I can guide, but I am nothing without my team because they fuel me. They make me more powerful. They make me more excited.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Our stories together, we amp each other up.
Right.
And I mean, ultimately,
so it's
they're
not all
my
about,
hype
it's
people.
not all about you and let's get back to me.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So as we start to see all the marketing that you guys do for the company individually, like how important is that to like be liked? Like, you know what I mean? To be put out a good product so that people attract and like that, right? Or like you personally.
Right. I think rather than be likable, I think it's more important to be relatable.
There you
So
go.
the relatable aspect is what we put out in our marketing because we're not selling ourselves in a way that is fake or phony. We're selling ourselves in a way that when we sit with you, we relate to you. And that's why the marketing, each individual personality is very, very different, because everybody's personality might capture a different client.
Yeah, and I always say, like, they love me from 8 to 80. You know what I mean? So, like, you have to have that in you, be chameleon-like, as we hear in the industry.
Right.
But I agree, like, being liked sounded like a high school term.
No, but
being
it's
relatable sounds like an adult, everybody term.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's important.
I am not for everybody.
Yeah.
I might meet a client and they're a little bit intimidated by my energy.
Yeah.
So I might bring somebody else in who has a little bit more of a calming tone, I guess you can say. And
you let them take control, like that, take the reins, right? You let them kind of.
Yes.
We still want the transaction. We still want the deal. We want to be
Exactly.
relatable. But yeah, we're not for everybody. I mean, not everybody is for everybody. That's the great
What's
thing
the
about
goal?
life. Yeah, the
To
goal.
take care of people, right?
Yeah.
If I can't take care of you, I have somebody who can.
Yeah.
So
that's important.
And then again, that only makes us bigger, stronger, and better as a group.
So we talked about 9 years, right? 9 years in the business, and I'm sure the same Jess from 9 years ago to the woman that I'm sitting in front of today is a completely different person.
Big time.
So what's changed? Like what's changed about the way you apply real estate right now? Like what changed in your everyday, attack on the business?
I think my confidence has grown with each day, just encountering a different circumstance.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was very intimidated by the rejection of sitting with a client and not getting the deal.
Yeah.
I was taking on every buyer who said they were pre-approved,
Yeah.
and they weren't.
Yeah.
I was just getting deflated because I didn't know my approach. And now my approach is just to be who I've always been, give that experience, sit down with people, relate to them. It's all those words that take me back to basically who I am as an agent.
That's amazing because, everybody, sometimes they stay very tunnel visioned, or they would have given up.
Given up. I almost did multiple times.
Yeah.
I said, this just isn't for me. I went back to the restaurants and the nightlife.
Yeah.
And
because that was your comfort zone.
That was my
right?
comfort zone.
Acceptance.
Yes. So
in control.
drawing me back to real estate was the unlimited opportunities that I knew were out there. I just wasn't comfortable enough to tap into them.
Yeah.
Because sitting with an investor, he knew more than me. And I remember sitting with an investor and saying, you don't even have to give me the listings. I just want to learn the process.
Yeah.
I want to know what trussing is. I want to know what support beams are or a sewer injector pump. I didn't know any of those things.
Right. So you had to educate yourself.
Right.
And
so
when you
now,
felt educated, you felt stronger, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So now when I'm going into a property, I'm educating them on structural issues and not just the age of the windows.
Right.
They can find out all these cosmetic things on their own for face value, but now I can know truly how the house was built.
Yeah, your referral source, right? And that was probably something you probably didn't want to tap into when you first got your license, right? Because confidence.
I didn't want to fail anybody.
Right, and you could have used a lot of leverage in the club and restaurant business. I mean, obviously your dad, and I'm sure like now that's like you're like Queen Kong, you know what I mean? You're like, give me the deals.
And that's interesting about me. I never want anything handed to me.
Right.
Because I don't feel like I earned it. So I never wanted to sit down with anybody who could just hand it to me on a silver platter.
Right.
I wanted to truly work ground up, make my relationships, and basically earn my badge in the real estate community.
And that's important. I mean, and they also teach you to get into that sphere, right? So that was where you didn't want to like go, hey, dad, or hey, restaurant owner, or hey, ex-bartender, or anybody that,
Instead,
and all of a sudden, did you start seeing a lot of those people that you knew though? And it kind of probably, I know it upsets me sometimes because I don't typically like to reach out and push my product on anybody, and all of a sudden you're seeing your friends close on a house.
Yeah.
What am I doing? That's
The
like one of my
worst
best friends.
feeling.
Does she even know I do real estate?
But then you understand it because you're thinking, okay, if there's two airplanes and you have a pilot who just got their license or a pilot with 20 years experience, which plane are you getting on?
Yeah.
You're getting on the experienced plane.
Right.
You don't want to crash and burn with one of the biggest experiences of your life, right?
Right.
So I understood, and all I could do was just start educating myself. And the second thing that I started doing was meeting with other agents from other brokerages just to form relationships. Because as much as there's an importance to take care of your client, you really have to be an excellent co-broke.
Yeah.
Because these are the people who are supporting you during the transaction. You
Yeah.
can pick up the phone and say, something really bad came up on the home inspection. What do we do to take care of both of our clients?
And I think there's a lot of lack of communication between brokers or agents in general, you know, because it's like mine, my seller, my buyer. Like there's no like, all right, we just need a little synergy here. You know, we're all in it. And I always say like, how after 30 days of a real estate transaction can it go so far
bad.
wrong where like the seller and the buyer can't even be in the same room anymore?
It's
And like they're signing over here with their people and it's crazy.
Some of my best transactions have been when the seller and buyer have interacted somehow throughout the process.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the passing of the torch.
Yeah.
They made all these memories in these homes. So with a new buyer coming in, who wants to walk away from their home or enter a home with this negative cloud over it? It's just such a horrible feeling when everybody's fighting each other. My question, how do you stay so calm?
I think it's just something I adapt to. You know, I had a background in corrections. That was my first profession. So a lot of people don't know that on camera, that I was a correctional officer for 6.5 years. And you have to have such understanding, not only for people, but you also have to have patience. You know, you're putting people who were in there, and I was 18 years old. So yeah, balance and patience for me is probably one of my best qualities. You know, even when I'm mad, I smile. You know, it's like
You've always been the same exact personality and shown the same characteristics throughout every phone call I've ever had with you. Whether it was something that was very nerve-wracking.
911 or
or just, hey, how's your day going? You maintain a very, and I think that's very important because when the client gets on the phone with you, they don't want to be amped up. They want to be reassured.
I'd say one of a quality that some people should always have is listening. I'm a good listener. And I can tell you when I'm on the phone with people and they've been talking for like 2 or 3 minutes, they all of a sudden go, "Are you there?" Right? They say that to me all the time. And I'm like, yeah, because I listen. Because if you just listen, you can overcome any objection. Typically, people will tell you everything when they're speaking to you.
Right.
So at the end of the day, calm. Right? If I get hyped up over you, like you call me up and like, Dan, the walkthrough, there's stuff in the house. And I'm like, yeah, they got stuff in the house. Like, we gotta go. I want to escrow agreement right now. Matter of fact, I want the movers there. And I want, you know, it just.
And I have dealt with that.
Yes.
And now your energy is affecting everybody when you're the one who's supposed to be solving it all for us.
Because you want to do right by your client. I want to do right by the client. But I want to also do right by the other realtor, the other attorney, the other title company, anybody involved in the process, because I know what it's like. I get those calls from other people and like they start going off and like they just don't understand. I'm like, okay, relax. We can do this. Like being the excitable over the excited is never going to get it done. You know, so I am a calm, cool collective. I might be on the inside, you know, like I might be hyped inside and I'm like, but it doesn't get the problem solved. And so I would say like being a problem solver, number one. 2, listening. You know, you have to have experience at this too. And obviously over 18 years in the business, I've heard a lot. And I still hear things that I probably have never heard before.
Right.
But it's a calming influence. And I think that's one of the things that if anybody had to say about me and my reputation is like, Dan will listen, Dan will help, and Dan will help solve problems.
Right.
And I think that's, you know, and that has nothing to do with signing papers at the closing table. That has nothing to do with my videos. It has everything to do with me personally. But it's also important to the people that I work with that know, like, let me just call Dan.
Right.
You know, because I get those calls, like, let me just call Dan. He has an answer. You know, and
I've texted you at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I have a question. And you'll always say to me exactly what I say to my clients. I don't have the answer to that, but I will find out for you. And that is very, very important in this industry because you cannot always ask.
And I say, when people text me long questions or they email me, I pick up the phone because I cannot educate you and I cannot get my emotion over to you. Like people people always misread emotion on text.
course.
I mean, words have they have meaning, but they don't have emotion. So when you
Absolutely.
get an email from somebody and they're like that, capitals, exclamation points, I'm
Yeah.
like, why am I going to engage in that? Let me just pick up the phone and find out what the true problem is. Or maybe it's something so simple that you just overlooked it. You knew the answer, but however, you just weren't in the frame of mind to really be sure of yourself too. What well rounds you, and who do you like working with?
I love the client that asks the questions.
Yeah.
I love that client. I love that client that comes to me and says, I saw this. And then I can kind of take all this information that they think they have and make it simplified for them.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you go on Google and your head can spin. So a first-time home buyer or a buyer selling their home and getting into something like a suitable housing clause and educating them that, don't worry about it. We have protection over you, that you don't have to leave your house, that you have that clause saying that we sell to buy.
Yeah.
Those are the clients that I love because I can sit down with them and spend unlimited amounts of time that make them feel comfortable and ready.
And you've been in enough transaction personally, right? I mean, you've sold your own houses a million times.
Yeah.
But
I love a good
so
deal.
a good like a seller, right? That maybe want to downsize, or maybe a seller that's moving out of state and relocating.
Right.
These are all hot topics in Rhode
And
Island
it's
right
steps,
now. For
right?
sure, yeah.
So knowing the steps and knowing how to educate the client on the steps, that's important because let's face it, the last couple of years, we've all been very, very
Flushed with business.
right.
Yeah.
Stick the for sale sign, it's gone. I don't even think people were asking questions about the house at one point. So now is the time that I'm really excited for the future of this market.
And so it leads into like exactly what I wanted to just talk about was, and if you've watched any of my videos, and I've always talked about changing the real estate agent into real estate consultant, and that's where I believe that people like yourself and high producers are going to continue to grow, and teams will continue to grow because they'll get that next step in their business. Take that word agent, maybe consultant, as you just talked about, right? And so what do you see for 2023, moving forward with the market, and also, and it's a two-step question, and what do you see for like, your agents, and like, and what do you see for like the build, like recruitment and things of that nature with Luxe?
So with this year, I mean, obviously everybody's in a little bit of a tizzy with the rates.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it is very important to keep that education going. What do payments look like to kind of ease people's minds? What do payments look like when last year a $500,000 house was going for $565, maybe at a 3% rate, but now is it going back to the $450, $475 at the 6%, and then in a year, 2 years, refinance? Those are questions, again, working with a really good loan officer is going to help.
Sure.
Because going back to, again, the team that you work with will educate the client, whether it's the attorney, whether it's the loan officer. So bringing these people in and forming really good relationships in 2023 is something that's very important to us.
How do you feel that you've set up your team strategically for your brand? Like as far as like title company, as far as
Having
like attorneys,
access.
as far as like,
Being accessible.
Yeah. And that's important to you. I
Very,
know it is.
very
because,
important. Because when somebody is frazzled and they need answers and information, I need to make sure that I'm getting them the correct information, or then I feel like I've failed because I can't be the bank, I can't be the attorney. I'm just the real estate consultant.
Yeah.
So making sure that I have this group behind me that I can pass somebody off and then they're taken care of, I don't have to worry. And one less worry in my life makes everything a lot easier during the transaction.
And I think teaching moments are important too, because Jess does call me at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it is. You ask me, hey, I just ran across this. I will then go through it with you, but rather than you have to call the client, I will typically pick up the phone and call them directly. So now the next time it comes up, you may never have to call me again on that, but I do like talking because I like to build that rapport as well. And I think that helps with future generational referrals. I mean, reviews, right? I mean, obviously everybody loves Google reviews and Zillow review, any type of review of, how great you did in a transaction. And communication is probably the number one thing of lacking with agents.
Big time.
It's like not just the paycheck people, but if you're not educated enough, it's okay. You know,
Right.
like you said, the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, did you have to know? Just stick a sign in the ground or come in 100,000 over asking?
Right.
I don't think agents got the proper education. They were just able to get in and go.
And go.
Yeah.
And now that structure is very important in these real estate offices.
Yeah.
And still the relationships between the agent and the co-broke.
Yeah.
Just having that unity within the market is very, very important to me
So
for this
that
year.
jumps into the recruiting part, right? Or just building more agents or better agents. You know, I'm sure like as a broker, you know, as the person that spearheads all of that, you know, you're looking and interviewing people and are those the things that you're hearing? Like, hey, I've been in this now 3 or 4 years and
Right.
I really don't know what I'm
Right.
not that they don't know what they're doing, but
Right.
you know, oh, my office used to put the purchase and sales together for me. And oh, I used this inspector and they just went and I didn't have to show up. Or, you know, so like do you hear these comments or conversations happening and, you know, in a
So-
recruiting standpoint?
What happens when things start to shift a little bit? People tend to blame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
My office isn't giving me leads.
Leads.
Well, there's no leads. Where are the leads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The market is kind of at a standstill. So everybody, I'd say, rather than blaming your office or your broker or whoever, blame. I hate to say this. Blame yourself a little bit.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
see,
take a look
hold
at the
yourself
mirror.
a little bit responsible
Take a look at the
on
mirror.
maybe the things that you were not focusing on before. Focus on them now.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy at your brokerage,
Yeah.
come to the Luxe Property Group, but I will never come find you. I
Yeah.
will never. I don't go to offices. I
Right.
don't ask. That's not
Yeah.
why I make relationships with other
I think
realtors.
I think what you do is why people want to come. I feel the same way. Like
Wanna
I don't,
come? My
I
door's
don't go
open.
after other people's business. Like I have
No.
respect for the other attorneys and title companies, you know. But what ends up happening is I feel like the cream rises to the top, right? So I don't have
Yeah.
to sit here and talk bad about people, talk bad
No.
about other companies. Like the product itself works, and that's what people are attracted to, I believe.
Right. When you focus on you, and then you teach people how to focus on them,
Yeah.
they hold themselves accountable. They become more independent. They become more confident.
Yeah.
And those are the only things that any job.
Yeah.
Those are the attributes that will really make you successful.
And I think people want the instant gratification in this business too. They look at others and they're like, I can do that.
I could do that.
I can be better than them. Like I know that person from high school, and
Right.
like I was the star athlete, and they were just like, you know, they were just hanging out on the sideline.
How hard can real estate be?
Yeah, how hard can real estate be?
I
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah, and I think that
No.
easy money or that instant gratification was part of what happened over the last 3 or 4 years. Was that agents were getting in? We were just laughing a little bit about, you know, like I'm going to be a flipper. I want to own 15 investment properties. I want to, you know, but with no method or no education on it or nobody to train them or coach them, right? So like, it's great to think that you can be like an anomaly, and there are a few unicorns in this business
Right.
that are just they still impress me to this day, you know, and how they do it is I don't know if they don't sleep. But I will tell you this, they have systems in place.
They do.
You know, and they have a certain desire, I believe, to want to be better.
Right.
You know, and it's not just like, oh, I sell real estate, or oh, I'm going to look good on a billboard, or oh, just I want to do Zillow. I
Right.
have so many agents that come to me like, Dan, I got a plan for this year. I'm like, okay, what's the plan? They're like, yep, I'm going to do this Zillow. I'm like, oh, this Zillow, okay. And you're going to do 500, and the loan officer is going to do 500, and I'm going to do 500, and we're going to
Crush it.
Yeah.
Crush it. Everyone's going to crush it off Zillow.
Meanwhile, I know the agent, like, you know, they don't pick up their phone. You know, they don't respond to people. Like, there's a whole process if you're going to lead generate. There's a whole process if you're going to.
I am the worst.
Yeah.
I am.
But you
the
grow your
worst.
business organically, though, so you don't go, you know what, let me go drop all this money on leads when you know that's not your strong point.
No.
There are people that work for you that they crush
They
leads.
are
They
incredible.
convert, they follow up,
Yes.
they do it, they put the notes in the system, the CRM's built out. But you have gone and I believe built it the correct way, which is, you know, foundation
Relationships.
first, relationship, and tap into those fears. But listen, as we just talked about, that wasn't always Jess's way.
No.
You know, fear and like indecisiveness about who you were at the time until you started educating yourself and really getting focused on the business.
Absolutely.
Great sit down. I mean, we could go on for hours, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, I love to ask the question, like, you know, there is so much competition out there for me. There is other companies that I'm sure come to you on a daily basis, you know, but but why, I always say, like, why did you choose me? Like, why did you choose Balkun title? Because, you know, it always, everybody has a different answer a lot of times, so it makes me feel good. So please tell me.
I think the most important word that I can describe is safety.
Safety.
You make me feel very safe in the transaction. You make my client feel very safe that they're protected. And what's the one thing people love to feel in life? They want to feel safe. And the fact that I can pass a client to you and know that they will be completely taken care of,
Yeah.
that's all I'm grateful for with you.
And geez, that is the ultimate compliment. Thank you very much. I had a great time and everything, yeah. So sitting down with Jess really opened my eyes to what an agent would be looking for, why the Luxe brand, why Jess, going with somebody that understands what you could be going through, but also just being a great person and having an unbelievable personality. One of the best things about Jess is her evolution in real estate. She's been able to definitely separate from past life to current life and also exceed and excel.